This is Josh Bycer from GameWisdom.com. I hope you enjoyed this Critical Thought, your daily discussion on game design. Hello and welcome to today's Critical Thought. Before we begin, thank you. We have finally hit 800 subscribers here on the YouTube channel. I hope you are really enjoying the content here. Be sure to let your friends know as we make our way now up the climb to 1,000. As promised, at 800, we're going to do another vote for the next Let's Break, and I want to reveal another idea for the big Let's Play if we hit, or I should say when we hit 1,000. For that one, I'm going to regret this, I think, but it's going to be a big one, that's for sure. If you've listened to podcasts or read some posts on Game Wisdom, then you know one of the biggest challenges of a series for me to learn has been the games from Zachtronics, who combine programming logic and puzzle solving for some of the most challenging and brain-melting puzzle/programming games you can think of. For this pick for the 1,000 subscriber Let's Play, I'm going to go through his recent games, Space Chem, TIS 100, Infinite Factory, and of course, Shenzhen IO, and we're going to see if I can get through all of them. Because if I can do it, then that means literally anyone else can figure it out. And I'm opening that up to animals as well. Super intelligent apes will be able to figure it out if I can do it. As for voting for the 800 subscriber Let's Break, I have three choices for you this time. The first one is the pick from last time that almost made, and that was the Hitman Let's Play. Like I said, I'm not going to promise 100%, but for this one, I'll go through the latest Hitman game. That's the 2016 one. As of right now, I believe the season is wrapping up. So this will be a way to look at all the levels. And again, let me play a game that I'm not really all that versed in. So I'll be learning it as I go. The second topic, this is one that I'm liking, and that is a look back at the golden age of the casual genre. If you watched my live play with Mark Venturelli of Star Vikings, we talked about sort of that golden age of the casual genre during the height of PopCap games, where they were able to really balance making accessible games with very interesting designs. So with this one, I'll play and go through three of my favorites: Plants vs. Zombies, Bookworm 2, and of course, Peggle, the game that introduced millions of gamers to Ode to Joy. I'm sure Peggle will be an immensely challenging game along the lines of Dark Souls and Bloodborne. Now, my third pick, and I'm sure after I say this, you're going to vote for this one, is a look at some of the games that I just can't get into. As you know, I have played and own a whole lot of games on Steam. And while I have certainly played a lot of them, there are some that I just can't get into. So for this one, we're basically going to go through, or shall I say torture myself, playing some of those games that just did not work for me. This will include titles like Analog: A Hate Story, Spin Tires, Goat Simulator, and I'm sure there are a lot more on Steam that I've repressed over the years. So if you want to see me really have a tough time, be sure to vote for that one. But with all that said, let's move on to today's critical thought topic, and that is going to be talking more about probability and chance in game design. It's going to be based on the post, which should have been linked somewhere up there by now. Probability is one of those elements that has certainly earned an interesting reputation. From a designer's point of view, it's one of the best ways to introduce randomization or keep a game from getting repetitive. Any game built around abstracting mechanics can have probability put into them. Whether it's something as complicated as the damage percentage that you hit on an enemy in RPG, to something as simple as Star Vikings with 15% chance to get energy back, or even the simple act of getting crits in Team Fortress 2. Probability, again, is one of those topics that we can talk who knows how long about regarding each game. But when it comes to how it's perceived by the consumer, that is a very interesting topic. The problem with probability is simple. It's something that you really can't control. And we as humans tend to try to frame things around a pattern or try to instill some kind of logic or plan to things. At this point, if I could, I would tag in my friend Jamie Manikin from psychologyofgames.com to talk about that concept further. But as we know, whenever we play games around probability, there's always that chance that you'll either have an incredibly lucky time, win after win, critical hit after critical hit, or basically the game decides to hate you. As some cases for me, like with Renowned Explorers, where I lost like a 99% chance or 95% chance on the Explorer wheel, or when I missed a 98% chance to hit with a shotgun in XCOM Enemy Unknown. And the thing about probability is that it is random. 99% doesn't equal 100. And unfortunately for gamers, especially games that put a lot of weight into probability, it can certainly drive them up the wall. For instance, when you have games where the probability will literally determine whether you'll win or lose, such as in XCOM, or with the game Tharsis, which was released last year, it can really piss people off and make them not want to play the game. The reason is, when probability has such an impact on the game experience, it becomes hard to really get invested in the game. Why should I improve when anything I'm going to be doing is going to be based on probability? It doesn't matter how great I am at the game if I keep missing 50% or even 70% to hit ratios. Darkest Dungeon being a good example of kind of that frustration factor, especially when you get into the higher tiers when enemies have much greater defenses and dodge rates. With that said, I know someone's about to comment about that, so I'm going to beat you to it. Some of the best games that deal with probability have ways to mitigate its impact thanks to expert players. If you watch someone like Christopher Odd, who played XCOM and XCOM 2 on Legendary difficulty, when you get to that expert level of play, you tend to understand mechanics enough to try to downplay the importance of probability. That doesn't mean you're freed from it, it's just that you understand things well enough that you're not going to put yourself into a position where one shot is going to literally determine whether you win or lose. And if you do miss, you have a plan B, and sometimes even a plan C to get around it. And that's where the expert level play of probability comes in. When it's no longer about simply, throwing dice in the air, closing your eyes, crossing your fingers and hope it works, but understanding, how can I control this probability? Are there any ways for me to affect the outcome or push things in my favor? If you played XCOM, for instance, you know about the importance of flanking shots, or getting above the enemy, or even simply using things like grenades, stun grenades, anything, again, to reduce probability's impact. Now, many games use probability and chance in the small scale, Diablo being a good example of that. You never know when an enemy's going to drop something. You could be spending hours killing enemies, or within 10 minutes of loading up, a common enemy drops a ancient set item to the ground and let that, you hear like the angel choir going off. And that's when gamers are far more accepting of probability, where it's important, but it's not do or die. And when you play Diablo 3, you're given enough chances to get this loot. And even if you do have trouble acquiring it, there are ways to get around it, such as the gambler vendor and the Kanai's Cube. There we go. I think that's what it was called. The point being, probability shouldn't be the ultimate judge of whether you win or lose, because if it is that, then the player has no reason to play. With that said, I have a question for you. For those of you who watched Tharsis or even played it, what did you think about the probability in that game? For me, I found it a little too controlling. This was a game where you could literally lose within the first turn of the first round of the game simply because you got really bad rolls and really bad events. Or you could get to the very end and then one thing could screw you. Now, of course, those types of games are very exciting and you never know what's going to happen. But at the same time, it's basically akin, again, to me closing my eyes and going like this and hoping that I win. And that is kind of that balance of probability. It's got to be involved enough to keep the player guessing, keeping the game from getting stale, but it can't be so all-controlling that the player literally doesn't matter in what they do. And I think with that, we'll wrap things up here. I guess one final question for you guys in terms of probability. When it comes to, again, these games like Renowned Explorers or XCOM, where you are given the abilities to, or the ability to control or mitigate chance, what are some ways I'm trying to think of how to best explain this. I guess, how do you go about managing probability? Especially in these types of games where there are these factors. Do you tend to, I don't know, do you push the limit? Like, if, let's say there's a 40% chance to win versus a 60% chance to lose, do you take that chance? What's your minimum success rate? I guess that's what I want to say. And one last point that I just want to bring up, and this is from the post that was linked somewhere up there. The more probability impacts your game, it's very important to spell that out for the player, specifically with how things are determined. XCOM being the perfect example, and even Renowned Explorers as well. Whenever you're about to take the chance on the Explorer wheel or make a shot on XCOM, the game will give you an itemized list of all the things that are affecting it. In XCOM 2, for instance, you'll see things like high cover, minus 20% chance. Perk, plus 10% chance. Enemy armor, minus 10% chance. And all these little factors are calculated for you, and you can see how things are going to play out. And more importantly, this is a way to help you learn how to start mitigating that probability. I keep giving this example, but Darkest Dungeon, I think, really could use a slight update with its UI to actually spell out how probabilities and to hit or to proc chances are done. It leaves up for the player to figure out, but it's good UI to have that information available. But with that said, let's end things here. As always, thank you to everyone who's subscribing. Especially thank you, there we go, to 800 subscribers here on YouTube today. For the voting for the 800 Let's Break, it is Tuesday, October 18th, so I'll give you guys 1 week, so that'll be Tuesday, October 25th, again at midnight. Get your votes in now or in any of the next critical thoughts, and we'll calculate them. And like I said, be sure to keep following things on Game Wisdom and Game Wisdom's the YouTube channel here as we make our way up to 1,000. And one last thing, as I keep mentioning for right now, you have until the end of October to get in your early bird pricing to support Game Wisdom on the Patreon site. That is, you can find me on there under Game Wisdom. Any donations would be greatly appreciated, and if you would like to get in now and get a little discount, that is currently available. It is extra hot here. This feels like Summerween for those of you who get that reference. So I'm going to end things here. Once again, I'm Josh Bycer from GameWisdom.com. Hope you enjoyed today's video, and I will see you all tomorrow with more great content. Have a great day. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoy it, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and of course share with your friends. It always helps out. For daily posts on all manner of game design and industry topics, check out game-wisdom.com. To support the site and everything that I do, be sure to check out the Patreon campaign. If we can hit goals, it will mean more content for everyone to enjoy, and I'll be able to support myself and my household. If you want to follow me, you can find me on Twitter at GWBycer for updates throughout the day and random thoughts from me. And lastly, you can find me on Twitch right over there at GWBycer for daily streams most nights around 10 Eastern. Thanks again for watching the video, and be sure to check out more great content coming to the Game Wisdom channel real soon.